So as usual, we're going to have our soon, inshallah, we will start um making use of our, if you notice, you realize that since we have started learning JavaScript, we have not been writing anything inside our HTML. We have not been writing any HTML code again. So we are not forgetting HTML, but we are just trying to learn the basic of JavaScript. And then, inshallah, we will move to the we move to DOM, we call it DOM, and that DOM is what will let us be able, it will permit our JavaScript file to access what we have inside the HTML file, and then it will be able to manipulate it. Maybe edit something there, delete something there, ask it to do or anything. So we are moving closer, inshallah. Okay, when we hear the word array, what does it mean? uh, an array is a kind of special variable. So because it's like a variable that can store multiple values at once, like the name of all the students. So when we started learning, we did something on different data types. And I grouped them into two initially, that we have primitive and non-primitive data types. So under primitive are all what we have been learning, like the string, we have been using string, numbers, boolean, and all of that. So whereby only a single value is being assigned to a variable. But now we are advancing. So, but when we are talking about function, array, and all of this, they store more than just one value inside the variable. So this array now, and we can like access all of these values at once, or use something to access just one of them or anything. So instead of just storing one value inside one variable, we put multiple of them, and we just separate each and every one of them with a comma. So we use commas to separate them. Let me quickly give you an example. Let's say, okay, I'm going to point something out now. You will realize that when we were dealing with function, we were using code block. Code block is one of the things we use to recognize function. But as for array, what we use to recognize it is this square bracket. So whenever you see something, so for function, we have parentheses, code block, and a lot of parts like that. But for array, you just need to, this alone is an array, even without putting anything inside this square bracket. We call this empty array, an empty array. And you can push many things inside this empty array. So we will get to that part, inshallah. But for now, let's think of many fruits. So we have apples, we have we have oranges, we have bananas. So we have bananas and so on. So it can continue as much as you want, like this. So in this case, this fruit is what we call array name. This is the array name. It is fruit. It contains three values: the apples, the oranges, the bananas. Then you need to know that inside an array, each of them has position that we call index. So, and for an array, it usually starts with an index of 0. So that takes us to like indexing in array. So in this case now, we have this apples now has an index value of 0, oranges has an index value of 1, while this has an index value of 2. But if you want to do it on the other hand, let's say in the reverse way, these bananas will now be -1. Yeah, this one will be -1. Let's continue. But I know when we want to start using some method now, you can actually use that -1 to target the last value of the last item in your array. So, but not all array methods take negative values, take negative index also. So let's continue. So to put it down, so let's just say we have what we call indexing in array, and then with this we are having apples to be taken. Uh, what is it? Apple. Okay, let me use halat and say, or let index. For instance, so I want to let index, let's fruit index for it. Let me use index be equal to fruit. So when you now put a kind of value here, let me say I put 0 here now, and I say alert fruit index. Let me see. So we see that, so we put this index 0 inside this fruit now, and it is giving us apples because that is the first thing. So if we change this to 2, it's going to give us bananas because this is 0, 1, then this is 2. Let's give it like 3. It should be undefined. Yeah, undefined. So because we did not have up to this index here. So that is what indexing is. So you need to know the index of your values. Okay, so let's go to creating arrays. Though we have created an array this way, there is a kind of old method, but it's not advisable to use it to declare an array again. Okay, so different ways of creating an array. This is the most acceptable one, or should I just say the recent one, as a seasoned developer. So this is the best way for you to create your array. But if you don't want to use this bracket, you can also use what we call new array constructor. And that is by saying, okay, let's create an array of cars like that. Let's cars. So I will now say new array. It must start with a capital letter, and then you put your values inside this place. So this is the most common car for us. Now only rich people know all those big cars names. Maybe they have Benz, or what is it called? Yeah, so we have this. Any other one again? Volvo is old abi. Um, so now this one is also another way of creating an array. So if you come here now and you see alert cars, so it's going to mention all of them for us: Toyota, Benz, Volvo. So that is also another way of creating an array. But do not stress yourself over this. This is what is in vogue. This is what everybody is using now. uh But just for learning sake, at least when you see something like this, you will also know that, oh, it's an array. I have known it. You will not be expecting only square brackets everywhere. This one is not using square bracket at all, but instead it is using this new array constructor to actually create it. All right. So now let's learn some methods. What do we call methods? What do we call methods? Almost every data type has methods. Math has method, numbers has some method, string has method, arrays has method. So let's learn what methods are, and then let's start learning them one after the other. So with these methods, you can do a lot of beautiful things and useful things with your array. Like, you want to add a value to this. Let me take this away, please. Let's say you want to add more to this. Then that is that is one of the ways in which, how do I put it? When you first register somewhere, and immediately when they are sending another bulk messages or emails to their customers, it's going to reach you. So it's and because automatically, as you just registered, your data, your information has been added to the list of their customers. So it has been added to their array, the array that contains the list of their customers automatically. So they must have programmed it that way that immediately you put your name, it's going to add it to it. So they use all these methods to manipulate all this kind of thing. The very first one, let's talk about this. Like, we want to know, how do I put it? Fruit dot length, or let me just create, let me add it inside, what is it called, a variable. Let me say dot, uh, item numbers, be item number of items. I don't even know the English to use, but you know that your variable names must be meaningful. People must know what you are trying to do. So number of items. So we all know that we want to know, maybe there are 3 items there or 4 items there now. So we use dot length to know that. So you're just going to call your array name and you say dot length. So this way, if I alert, what is it called now? Number of items. So it's going to show us 3. So we have 3 items there now. So we use dot length to count the number of items we have. The same thing with string. You can use dot length to count the number of letters you have in a string. But because those ones are not, we don't usually use them a lot. So, but we use array a lot. Another one is, so let me say, find number of items. Okay. Another method is, I'll be removing all the alert or transfer. Okay. When we want to add item to the list, we have 2 ways of adding item. You can add items to the beginning of your array, and you can add it to an end of it. Adding item to an end. So to add to an end, but it is always advisable that you add to an end and not to the beginning. Why? Because when you add another item to this beginning now, it's going to cause a shift in their index numbers, and that is going to likely slow down your system. You're going to slow down your, how do I put it? JavaScript is going to slow down, so it's not going to move fast. So when everybody is joining, like different customers are registering, and all their inputting are coming to the front, to the front, to the front. That means each time apples will be changing index number every now and then, and that is not good. Sometimes it's going to scatter everything. Let's say you have assigned something to the first customer. Probably you want to give the first customer something, and you have said, okay, with this index, This person should be tagged as this. So adding to the beginning of it is just going to scatter everything for you. So it is always advisable that you add to an end. So that way, this one will maintain its index of 0, 1, 2, and any other one you are adding to it will just take the next index number instead of changing for every, or imagine having up to like 1,000 items and all those items need to change their indices. So it doesn't make any sense. So we use this a lot. So I'm going to save inside the variable again, and I will say add an item. Okay, or add item to end, or add item alone. So add item, and then the fruit is what we want to add item to now. So we just say dot. These are a lot, these are all the methods, all these options. So immediately you put dot, these are all the methods. There are very many that you can learn. Can you see? So this is the one I want to use now, push. So dot push for this always comes as this. So when you add item dot push, then what is the name of the item you want to add? And that is what you will put inside it push. Or remind me of a fruit though. Apples, oranges, bananas.
Waterme watermelon.
Okay, grapes, watermelon. Thank you. So this way now, it has added grapes to the list of fruit. So if you come here now and say alert fruit, so you see it has added grapes automatically. So you can use this. So this is the method they use in adding all your data to every database. So immediately you register or immediately you put in something, it's going to be added automatically with this push and probably a function here. And that function must have been the function that takes your data before. So once they said add that function, so the return from that function, that is the example of where return comes in. So the return of that function is what will just be added here. But why we need to, it is this fruit we need because this one, how do I put it? We are not actually getting a kind of result from it. What we want is we want it to add these grapes to the fruit. So if we want to know if it has been added, then we need to check our fruit. So just like sending a boy an errand, like go and add this ball to that container. So if we want to check if it has added the ball to the container, we need to go to the container and check the items there. So
Okay.
we will not need to actually check the boy himself because he might have thrown it somewhere else. So that is why I alerted fruit for you to see the list of items there. So also we can as well remove the last item. I'm coming. Let me add another thing. Okay, the watermelon. So alert fruit now. So it has added watermelon and grapes. Now we want
Okay.
to remove an item from the end part. So to remove an item from an end, you're going to use pop, P-O-P, and you do not need to provide all of this. So with this now, by the time we alert fruit now, we have how many here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it has added grapes and watermelon. So in this case, it is going to remove watermelon. Yeah, so we can see it now. So watermelon has been removed. So now if you want to add to the beginning,
Assalamualaikum.
wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
We can't have multiple alerts on a page, right?
We can have it, only that we keep saying okay, okay before it reaches the last one.
Okay,
Yeah, we will
okay.
keep
Okay,
clicking.
ma.
So it will first alert the first one. You will keep click OK before it moves to the next one. You will click OK before, so it takes time. So that is why I usually comment them out so that it only alerts me what I want to see that time. So to add item to the beginning, we use unshift. So we use unshift to do that. Please don't always use it except you have your reason and you know what you are doing. Mhm. So we'll just say fruit dot on shift and then let's re-add our watermelon that we removed before. So we can see watermelon coming at the beginning now, from the front now. And that is just an opposite of on shift. We are going to use shift to that one. So removing item from the beginning. Beginning. Me and spelling. So this is going to be shift and then it's going to remove that same watermelon again. It has removed watermelon from the beginning again. But I have told you, please try as much as possible not to use on shift and shift because it's going to change all their indexes. So if you are removing with shift, that means it's going to bring the one with index of 1 to 0, the one with index of 2 to 1 and all of that. So it's going to drag uh your browser will not work very well. To make it slow, especially when you are dealing with large arrays, large number. I want to give you for that. The method we can use to replace some of these items is dot splice. Let's dot splice. Dot splice is going to take some parameters. The first parameters will talk about the number of items we want it to remove. Then the second parameter would talk about the how do I put it? The first parameter will talk about the index that we want to remove. So, and the second parameter will talk about the number of items that we want to remove. So currently we have 4 items in our array. We have apples, we have oranges, we have bananas and grapes. Okay, let's say I want to remove oranges and bananas, then replace it with just one item. So this is how it's going to go. Oranges is on which index now? It is on, let me restart it to be sure. Yeah, so orange is on index 1. So here I'm going to say index 1, put 1. Then the second parameter will be that how many items should it remove? So remove 2 items. So when it removes 2 items like this, by the time I want to alert fruit, you will see that those middle ones, oh, so the 2 middle ones have been removed completely. So now we have just apples and grapes. So oranges and bananas, they don't go already. So they have gone. So that is what this is doing. Also, we can replace the item instead of, so by just saying at index 1, replace 2 items. So immediately I put the third value. That is what I want it to add. So let me say I want to replace those ones with watermelon. So we will just have watermelon at the middle now. So the first value talks about the index. So at index 1, remove 2. This is the second parameter, the number of items we want it to remove. If we don't put anything here as the third parameter, it's just going to remove them and they are gone. But if we want, how do I put it? If we want it to replace those two items with something else, that is the third parameter. But let's say I don't want to remove them, any of those items, I only want to add, then you're going to say 0. So at index 1, remove 0 item. That means don't remove any item, but add this watermelon. So in this case, this watermelon is going to take the place of index 1 now. So let's just restart and see. Can you see that? So at index 1, watermelon has taken over. I hope you get it up to this level. So inshallah, we shall continue to uh, other things we need to learn about array and some, how do I put it, some projects we can achieve with an array in the next class. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.